This is MRN Crew Call, brought to you by Hercules Tires.
One of the things I love about the garage area in NASCAR is first-time winners. And it's been fun this year because we've been knocking them out on a regular basis with first-time winners. Back at Homestead, it was crew chief Rudy Fugle getting his first Cup Series win with William Byron. Then we moved right to the next week where Cliff Daniel got the win with Kyle Larson as a first-time winning crew chief. And then a week or so back, Ben Beshore joins the crew chief winning club with that win at Kansas with Kyle Busch. I'm Steve Post, pit road reporter for Motor Racing Network, and this is Crew Call, brought to you by Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength. First time wins, there are always special moments. I think I mentioned this. I remember the first trip to Victory Lane with Ricky Rudd as a PR guy, and what a moment that was. And I know for each and every one of these crew members and crew chiefs, it is a big, big moment, and in many cases, a culmination of quite the journey, although once they get a little taste of Victory Lane, they don't want to wait too long to go back again, and we'll find out if that indeed is the case for Ben Beshore, who joins us this week on Crew Call.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there no matter where the road takes you. Go to HerculesTires.com. There you can find the nearest authorized Hercules retail location to you. Plus, you can use the tire tracker to find out which Hercules tire fits your vehicle the best. That's HerculesTires.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Welcome back. It is Crew Call, presented by Hercules Tires here on Motor Racing Network, and I love first-time winners. The third first-time winner as a crew chief this season, Ben Beshore, is on the line. Hello, Ben. Welcome into Crew Call.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Well, yeah, no, it's cool. I am good. Ben, I want to go back. Okay, we do a sprint car show called Wing Nation here on MRN. Okay.
Yep.
You are a racer from a racing family in York, Pennsylvania, and I know there was a street stock portion of your career at Lincoln Speedway, but I find no sprint cars. Like, how could that even happen in York, Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I'm not sure. All the kids that I raced against growing up, they all went to 305s and 358s. There might be a couple doing 410s now, but yeah, I don't know. I think they flipped a little too much for my dad, so we ended up with something that was a little bit more stable and didn't get upside down so often.
Yeah, I just, like I said, when I saw you from York, I'm like, well, there's got to be sprint cars, and Central Pennsylvania and sprint cars are cool. So
yeah, I've been to 100 races at Lincoln and Williams Grove, but just never got in a sprint car.
yeah, no, that's neat. One of the things, Ben, looking at your story, the athleticism in your family. I mean, I couldn't believe your grandfather has a cousin who fought against Joe Louis and Rocky Marciano. You were a dual sport with karting and football. Has athletics always been part of your family DNA and dynamic with your family?
Everyone played sports, but I don't know if it was necessarily a big part of our lives growing up. I did baseball and football all growing up. A lot of my family members did soccer and softball and all sorts of stuff. So we're just a competitive family. I think it's more competitiveness and the sports just kind of come along with that.
Yeah. You had a run though in high school football where I think it was 22 touchdowns one year. You went all the way, won the conference championship and everything. As a high schooler with football Friday night, man, that had to just be a neat time of life and scoring all the touchdowns. Yeah, probably a big man on campus, if you will.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Racing at that point was probably the only time that racing took a backseat to sports. It was still racing a little bit on the weekends after Friday night, but playing running back and cornerback, you're pretty beat up and sore Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I didn't quite have the size to go to the next level, I guess, but definitely had a lot of fun with high school and made a lot of great memories with friends that I'm still in touch with today.
Yeah. You, as I said, you were dual sport. You spent a lot of time karting at that point. And really, that was kind of your family. I think your father and uncle, they ran motocross. You and your cousin, I guess your uncle actually had an excavating business and
Yep.
carved a track out. Really, so you guys got a lot of seat time before you got to the racetrack.
Yeah, I think that was part of the reason my cousin and I had some success karting was, like you said, uncle had an excavation business. A track hoe and a grader were down for a couple of days, and he carved a track in there on the farm for us, and we'd run 500 laps on a Sunday afternoon. Just before we ever went competitive racing, just yard carts, and that got into, then my dad needed a faster cart, then I needed a faster cart, and just sort of escalated into till we got into actual competitive racing, and it sort of took off from there. So, yeah, definitely a lot of fun, a lot of great family bonding, just all around great experience there.
Yeah, that's one of the things I always love about racing families. Boy, there is a bond there and a lot of connection and a lot of just a lot of quality time together, because it's a tough sport. You have to put time in to have any level of success.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just, like you said, at the racetrack, it's the preparation, in your garage, getting your cars better, talking about stuff. It's a lot of communication. It's a lot of time around each other. It's a lot of, at some points it's traveling. Just you get a lot of time together and doing stuff that you love doing, and you all have a shared interest, and it's just, it's great. It's great for families.
Yeah, it really truly is. It's been fun to watch. A lot of friends that spend a lot more time with their mom and dad or their brothers and siblings at the racetrack than all the rest of us combined. It's
it keeps you out of trouble too.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you, a lot of dads that I know feel the same way. It might be a little expensive, but it might be cheaper in the long run for sure. Now you then took it and you went full bodied. I mentioned this. You ran street stocks at Lincoln Speedway up in Abbottstown, just a historic, great racetrack. Were you at that point thinking that maybe race car driver was a path, or were you just looking to kind of be a Saturday night hero at that time?
Yeah, it was just more of a Saturday night thing. At that point, I wanted to get into the NASCAR racing. I was going to school for engineering at the time, and figured, really, it was a lot of fun at the same time, but getting some stock car experience, with stuff that had suspension, like you said, did a lot of go-kart racing. Growing up, you don't have, a V8 engine or a car with shocks and springs. So just getting experience there and learning how to build cars and setting, full bodied stock cars up. It was a great experience. And then fun driving on top of that, when I wasn't wrecking.
There you go. You kind of hit at an era in motorsports, in NASCAR, probably not motorsports as much, but NASCAR. And it's an era where engineering became such an important part of the sport. I think it's always been a part of the sport, but it was more shade tree engineering, more mechanical and engineering degrees. When was it that light went on where you said, hey, mechanical engineering, racing, can I put those together?
Yeah, it was probably about the time, my freshman year of college that, NASCAR, like you said, was sort of exploding in popularity. Engineers were getting hired. Teams were starting to staff, full-time engineers on all the teams at that point. So there was an opportunity to get hired, with sort of my background and engineering background that I knew there was probably a chance that I could make a career out of it. And it was something that I loved doing. And, it was a big part of my life for so long that's about the time where, thought, let's give it a shot and see where this goes.
Okay, your story is so similar to so many other guys. We had Greg Ives on last week on the show, and he started and went this mechanical or the engineering route, but he was going to be a doctor, actually. He was talking about being a doctor. When you say you kind of discovered this in your freshman year, was there another plan that the engineering kind of took over, or were you pretty much committed right off the beginning?
Yeah, I was pretty committed. The backup plan, I guess, would be, my family's been in different parts of the construction business in the Pennsylvania area. I guess that would kind of be the fallback plan if the racing thing didn't work out.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's like I said, it's just neat. I shared with him last week. I went to Penn State to be an accountant, and See how that worked out?
Yeah.
My worst business skill is accounting, and I'm announcing racing. So, best laid plans, and we go from there. I want to bring this back because you got started in racing Bruco and everything, but there's also been this family connection. Your cousin has been alongside of you this whole journey as well. That's fascinating to me. That has had to be really neat, right from Bruco to presently at Joe Gibbs Racing. He does setups on the 11 car. That has to be really, really. It's interesting and unique, and has to be really fun or neat to have someone on. That it's in your corner all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. We grew up on the same farm. We lived on one part of the farm, and he lived on the other. So we've been together, forever. So having somebody like family, especially, living down here in Charlotte and not having any other family around, it's great to have somebody, that you can lean on, or, if you got to drop your kids off somewhere, you got a support system built in there. So that's always great. Yeah, we've lived together for times when we were working at Bruco, and just, we're really close, and it's great that we kind of landed here at Joe Gibbs Racing, and sort of circumstantial how it happened, but it's great to be at the same company and share a lot of that same stuff.
Yeah, that cousin is RJ, and you guys at one time at Bruco were both was it tire changers as well, or was it tire changers or tire carriers? Carriers as well.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that was that was a lot of fun back in the younger days, a little bit more athletic, but yeah. At those smaller Busch Series teams at the time, you got to do a little bit of everything. So that was a good time.
Yep, for sure. Your road over the last few years is you got to Roush Fenway Racing, and then finally to Joe Gibbs Racing, and then Xfinity Series. You had a fair amount of success with Harrison Burton and a bunch of other drivers. Kyle Busch, you won a bunch of races with him. As you were rolling through the last few years, how does a guy decide that he's ready? Do you knock on the door over there of the coach and say, hey, I'd like to be considered to move from Xfinity Series to Cup? How does that process all work for a guy?
Yeah, about like what you said, when opportunities are open, you say, hey, I'd like to interview for it. If it's the right fit, it's the right fit. If not, so be it. So yeah, you just obviously you try to work as hard as you can and knock out as many wins as you can, and when an opportunity opens up, hopefully you'll be considered. It's tough sledding over here. There's a lot of talented people, coming up the ladder and that are already there. So it's a competitive environment, and to be able to be considered was a great honor, to be honest. Yeah.
So last fall, as we learned that the shuffling, and you have such a great relationship with Adam Stevens, but you learned that crew chief with Kyle was going to be opening up. Was it all guns blazing once you heard about that opportunity and started to kick that around?
It happened pretty late in the season, to be honest. So everything happened like within a week, to be honest. I talked with Kyle a little bit, talked with some of the executives over here and managers and coach, and I guess it was right before Thanksgiving or so that they sort of gave it the go ahead. And yeah, it was pretty late in the ball game. I didn't even know if I was going to be considered. At the time, I was looking forward to another year with Harrison and making a championship run, coming off of 2 wins there at the end of the season. So, there's a lot of momentum there, and just glad that I was able to get the opportunity and hopefully make the best out of it.
Earlier in your career, you had 4 wins with Kyle in the Xfinity Series, and you actually had a little stint with him when Adam found himself in trouble with NASCAR, where you had 3 races as well and had, I think, 3 top 10 finishes. Was it kind of as you got started in the season? Was it and got started even preseason? Was it kind of like, okay, was there a little like riding a bike, getting back on board with Kyle?
Not necessarily. Working with him for 4 years at the Cup level, and then I think we did 7 races in the Xfinity Series in 2019. We have a pretty good history, and back then when you had practice and qualifying, you were on the road 3 days a week. You spent a lot of time in the hauler, getting to know each other and what he's looking for and what he likes and doesn't like. So yeah, it was, it felt like we left off right where we were, at the end of or midway through 2019 when we were doing Xfinity races.
Yeah, yeah. Go down to Daytona, you win the Busch Clash. There's nothing wrong with getting a win even before the season. That had to be a pretty good omen for you guys.
Yeah. Obviously, it's better than not winning for sure. So that it's sort of a tune-up race. But yeah, anytime you get wins and are able to have success, you just hope that you can keep building on it. That was, where we were a third place car and just kind of got it on the last corner. So it didn't feel as good as we went out there and like dominated, I guess, but win's a win. So we'll take it. It was to be able to build momentum, to get everyone, kicked off on the right start, as far as the shop and morale and all that stuff. Everyone was really jacked up. A lot of new guys that are working with Kyle this year. So they were pumped up to be part of the program. And yeah, to go out and get that clash right away to start the season off was huge for the team and everyone's confidence.
Yeah. Kyle is an interesting character, obviously polarizing to so many, and you hear it. On the radio, he's quite honest at times, blunt at times, and quite brutal. How do you, Ben, remove the emotion out of that and pull the insight and figure out how to make that car faster? You guys, with that win at Kansas a couple weeks ago, you guys were good for a while, and then a couple cars got better for you, and then you were able to come back. How do you remove the emotion of some of the communication and yet get all the good insight to make that car better?
Yeah, I mean, with his emotion, it comes from passion. He's just a competitive guy, and we both are, and we want the best out of every day. And when you're just teetered on the edge of winning, like, at Kansas, where we're a second or a third place car, where you just feel like you're an adjustment or two away from getting it. There's no time to sugarcoat things. There's no time to sort of beat around the bush. You just have to, this is what I need, fix it. Like, and the more direct and honest we are with each other, the quicker we're going to get to the best result and get the car handling the best we can and make the most out of our day. So yeah, it's, you got to put on your big boy pants and deal with it sometimes when he's getting mad and that comes from a place of passion and competitiveness and just fix the car and get the most out of your situation.
Yeah. I've always just had such respect for him, and I've had good interviews and I've had bad. I mean, I've always said that I love, one thing I love about the sport is as a guy that is really, really hacked off second or third place finisher, because usually that's good. And Kyle, a lot of times, is that guy where he just wants to bite the microphone out of your hand. But I have so much respect because it is that passion, it is that drive to win, and it's got to be a really neat spot for you to be in, because you know that you get that car pointed in the right direction, you get that harness, you've got one of the best horses in the field as far as driving those cars.
Yeah, and that's why everyone on this team is pumped about working with Kyle, because if you put maximum effort in and give him the best piece, he's going to go out there and be able to compete with it and bring home wins and knock out a bunch of top fives. So that's what really drives everyone on this team, is to give him the best car that we can and dot all your I's and cross T's and just make sure that you're not the reason that we're having a bad day. So it's everyone's just got to step their program up, because they know that he's on his game every week.
No doubt. He is incredibly talented. That is for sure. When one of the struggles last year, and the speculation, and I don't like dealing in speculation, but a lot of the talk was lack of practice maybe is affecting Kyle. I had a conversation with Chris Buescher during the offseason, and Chris said lack of practice really, really stinks for me. I love Friday, Saturday, Sunday, thinking about things, and lack of practice. He acknowledged that lack of practice was that. Is there something to that? And have you adapted? Is Kyle spending more simulator time? How are you doing that, and how is that factoring into 2021?
Yeah, it's definitely tough, but there's 40 other guys dealing with the same thing. So you can't really harp on that as an excuse. You just have to, that's the situation we're in. We're going to have to make the best of it. We got to spend more time working on the simulation or working on the simulator, and just trying to get as much prep and accurate prep as we can get in on a weekly basis, so that when we unload at the racetrack, we're 95% there, and we can get a couple of rounds of wedge here and there and get it where it's driving good. It's just, it's on our end to just do our homework as best we can and make the most use of the tools we have at our hands, and not use lack of practice as an excuse for lack of performance, because it's the rest of the teams are dealing with the same thing.
Yep. No, it really is. You go to Kansas a couple of weeks ago, last week it was, and you win that race. What was that like for you to work so hard from high school sports to college to the Brucos and Roush Fenway and everything? What was that like for you to get that first career cup win?
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Like you said, it's a lot of hard work that goes into it. A lot of guys here at the shop, putting everything into it, and hopefully, just be able to do my part and try to get the car, make the best of our day. So yeah, really big relief for the team to be able to be locked into the playoffs and get some of those playoff points, and get some momentum going into the summer here, and where we can kind of, the pressure's off to make the playoffs. Now the pressure's on to just build those playoff points, and typical racer, you win one race, you want to go win another one. So we'll look back, at the end of the year and judge our season then. One win wasn't our goal this year for sure. We want more than that, and be able to make a deep run in the playoffs.
Couple of more questions here before we cut you loose. We're getting into this part of the season now, where COTA, Nashville, Road America. Are there any of these new things that we have this year that you're most looking forward to as you guys try to build that momentum that you talked about?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you go to a new track, it's a new set of challenges. It's a new, which I think everyone sort of enjoys. Going somewhere new, having a little bit of practice at some of those tracks, so that'll be nice. Yeah, I think all those tracks, it's just a new challenge. I think Kyle really likes checking boxes as far as, winning at every track. He had that, and then we started adding tracks. So we got to get him back to the point where he's got all those boxes checked. So we're gonna keep working hard so he can hit his goals and knock those out.
And finally, for you, NASCAR recently unveiled the new generation race car. How does that work at Joe Gibbs Racing, so that you guys can focus on 2021 here, but not be behind in 2022? How does that work?
Yeah, it's obviously, I personally haven't spent a lot of time working on the new car. We have a lot of smart people here that have. So when all the testing starts rolling around here, we'll jump on board, and that I think, a couple of those off weeks in July, maybe we'll take a peek at it, and we have some tests scheduled, sprinkled in throughout the year. Just pay attention to those, and then once the off season hits, then we'll be full bore, trying to cram it in before the Daytona 500 for sure, and learning all the new parts and pieces and procedures, and it'll be full tilt on once we get to that point.
For sure. Ben, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. We appreciate you joining us on Crew Call. Congratulations on that win at Kansas, and thanks for the time. We wish you the best throughout the summer months.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
There we go. Ben Beshore, crew chief for Joe Gibbs Racing, and Kyle Busch joining us here on Crew Call.
Sir, are you aware you were going 40 miles an hour? This is a residential area.
Sure, but I'm on my lawnmower? Wait, am I getting a ticket?
No, I've just never seen anyone top 9 miles an hour on one of those bad boys. And mow their entire lawn in 30 seconds? What got into you?
Well, it did fuel up at Sunoco this morning.
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
It's the Monster Mile this weekend, Dover International Speedway, the Dry Dean 400, and it is always a challenge for the teams. When we look at the Monster Mile, it is the only track we talk about landing a race car, because as they thunder from the straightaways up on top of the banking down into the corner, well, it's landing a race car. And that landing is what creates nightmares and challenges for the chassis, creates nightmares and challenges for the guys and gals working on the chassis and tires as well. Everything is a challenge, particularly that right front. And that's one of the areas where Goodyear really works with the teams to make sure that they have the air pressure right, so that that landing, especially those first few laps, you're not damaging the tire. This race at Dover, the Dryden 400, will be run in 3 stages, as they all are. Stage 1 is 120 laps. Stage 2 is 120 laps, taking us to 240, and then it's a 160 lap run to the finish. So strategy during each of the stages is going to be a factor, and that pit road at Dover is tricky. Oh, it's tricky, it's tight. Getting onto pit road is a challenge. So we're going to be busy up there with Motor Racing Network, and MRN will be there all weekend live, triple header coverage. Let's see, Friday, we start at 5 p.m. Eastern time. It's the General Tire 125 for the ARCA E Series. On Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern time, the Dryden 200 for the Xfinity Series. And on Sunday afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern time, the Dryden 400 for the NASCAR Cup Series. We would love to have you join us on MRN. And of course, the MRN schedule is always available at MRN.com. Just click on the schedule tab. And not only that, but there's reminders there so that you'll never miss when we pop on the air with Motor Racing Network. We appreciate Ben Beshore joining us here on the program, but more important than all of that, thank you for joining us here on Crew Call, presented by Hercules Tires.